Welcome back to another episode of ROC Boys Football. It is Senior Bowl week. We're going to be taking a look at the roster, giving you guys some of the names that we like, some of the good names that we think could really benefit their stock in the Senior Bowl. And again, we had media credentials to go down to this week. It's crazy to see how far the boys have come, and that is thanks to you guys. But again, couldn't swing it, but we will be watching the game. We will be watching the practice tape. And again, before we get into it, just want to say thank you to you guys. The reason we could get credentials to this is because of the support you guys have shown. We really do appreciate it. So if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing. Also, more importantly, let us know the prospects that you guys are more interested in the comment section. Again, trying to get our eyes on as many prospects as we can. Rock, let's get into it. Let's take a look at the national team first. We'll kind of just go position by position, talking about certain guys that stand out to us. Let's start with the defensive backs here. Rock, any names that are jumping out at you in terms of defensive backs on this national team?
Yeah, right up top, J.L. Skinner. I mean, a guy that has the length, the size. I do worry about his coverage skills, especially in man coverage. But, I mean, if you're talking about a guy who has swag, like the images, if you search up J.L. Skinner, you're going to want him on your team.
He looks so cool.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think he has some definite deficiencies in, like, coverage and stuff. But big hitter. I think he invites contact, can play down by the line of scrimmage, blitz, come off the edge. So a guy that I'll definitely be looking for in the Senior Bowl.
And another guy that's a very similar brand of player, Sidney Brown from Illinois. Two guys that you want to see the coverage ability. Like, can they hang in man coverage, especially with those tight ends or maybe slot receivers? You're going to get that at the Senior Bowl. And so for those guys, it's really important to get those good reps in man coverage and see if they got loose enough hips, if they got that tracking ability. Another guy I'd probably just throw in there, Jatavius Martin from Illinois. Yeah. Really like his teammate Devin Witherspoon. He's our #1 cornerback on our board. But again, what's the same problem? The same concern we have with Devin Witherspoon, we have with Jatavius Martin, in the sense that the Big Ten West was not really testing you against elite wide receivers. The only real test you saw was Purdue. They were decent, but not great. So you want to see a guy like that go up against some of those elite wide receivers who are heading to the NFL and see if they can hang in those one-on-one drills. Moving on to the defensive line. This is probably my favorite aspect of the Senior Bowl, watching the one-on-ones, seeing what guys on the defense and offensive fronts are just physically more imposing. Rock, any guys on that defensive line that's standing out to you here?
Yeah, Keanu Benton, the guy from Wisconsin. Yeah. He's long, he's physical, he can rush the passer, can get a little bit high with his pad level, but someone who's going to really thrive in the 1v1s. I'm like, those are the type of guys that every year, it's not a great drill, but for defensive linemen like Keanu Benton, like, this is perfect. He's going to show.
I got two here. One, KJ Henry, kind of just like my personal favorite. I think he's really good, kind of getting overshadowed by a guy like Myles Murphy. I think he'll have an absolute day in those one-on-ones. And then a guy that, when you talk about Senior Bowl, you talk about those guys coming from the group of five or maybe even the FCS that need to show they can hang with elite level Power 5 talent. Carl Brooks is one of the more interesting prospects in this class. You saw him struggle when they played teams like Mississippi State, UCLA in the beginning of the year. But, man, when he was in the MAC, I mean, just like the most physically imposing player on the football field. They played him at 5 or 7 tech, sometimes standing up for a 6'4", 300-pound dude. I'm interested to see what they do, and I'm interested to see if he can kind of bring it to some of those Power 5 level talent guys.
Yeah, he's an athlete, man. He actually reminds me a lot of DeMarvin Leal from last year, kind of a tweener guy that he's athletic, but he can also get down like the 1 tech, nose tackle, 3 tech, and kind of rush the passer from any position. So I like him a lot as well.
And I'm interested to see what those NFL teams do with him, because what do they want to see? Because, again, playing mostly on the edge at Bowling Green, 6'4", 310 pounds, I don't know if that's feasible at the NFL level, but he's a really good athlete. So I'm kind of interested to see how he holds up. Taking a look at the linebackers, there's a couple names that stand out, Rock. I know Ivan Pace Jr. has been a guy that you are a big fan of. What do you hope to see from Ivan Pace from Cincinnati here?
I think right when the game actually happens, I'm going to be looking at him more. His ability to kind of stack and shed defenders or offensive linemen is what he struggles with. So in the game time situations, I want to see how he handles some of the bigger offensive linemen from the Pac-12 and the SEC and the Big Ten. Another guy, Deion Henley, kind of the same thing, a smaller linebacker that can cover the field. I think I've said it before, but he reminds me of Brian Asamoah from last year. So a guy that, again, can cover anywhere, can play zone, can play man, can kind of blitz off the edge. So just two guys, similar skill sets that I'll definitely be looking at.
He's a thumper. Henley's a thumper. And Ivan Pace Jr., just big time to Kobe Dean vibes from him, which is maybe like a bad MO in terms of translating to the NFL, because you didn't see a better linebacker on film than Kobe Dean. Still goes in the third round. I know injuries were a concern, but Ivan Pace just kind of short and stocky. Like, there's not much length to him. And I know NFL teams will probably shy away from that and talk about a guy with plenty of length and who probably will show. I kind of want to see it because DeMarvion Overshown, a guy who was a former safety, I thought could have done better in coverage. So I'm excited to see what he can do in terms of coverage at the Senior Bowl. And then one other guy, I know that we said we stick to like one or two, but Carlton Marshall, one of the most productive, one of my favorite day 3 targets. I mean, 500 tackles over his career at Troy. He's an absolute dog. Kind of excited to see what he can do when he's stepping up to kind of that Power 5 level. We'll skip over the long snappers. I hope Robert Soderlund from VMI, I hope he can have a good camp there.
Rooting for him. We're rooting for him.
Let's take a look at this offensive line crew. Who's standing out here? I see some of my Michigan guys. Who you got for us?
Cody Mock from North Dakota State. So when I first watched him, I didn't love him, but I watched him again, and then I moved him into my top 2 offensive guard, almost put him ahead of Osiris Torrance. I'll give you a quick rundown on him. He's got good agility and short area quickness, working to the second level, impressive athlete. I did think the scheme at North Dakota State kind of protected him from holding off pass blocks for too long. So they need to show that in the Senior Bowl. Able to use leverage and strong lower body to drive defensive linemen back. As a pass blocker, he's stable, grabs at the edge, and locks him down with good grip strength. So a guy that I do want to see against these SEC defensive ends kind of show out, because I think he can do it. He's aggressive. He looks like a beast. I don't know if you've seen pictures of him. So.
I have. He looks like an animal.
So, yeah, I like him a lot.
And he's one of those, stereotypical, like, has the most to gain jumping up and playing at the Senior Bowl. My guy's DeJuan Jones from Ohio State. Did you see his measurements? His arm length?
He's got 900-inch arms, dude. It's pterodactyl.
Truly, truly insane. I think they said his arm length equals a guy who is 7'5".
Yeah.
And so he's obviously a mammoth. I mean, he's 6'8". I believe he goes 360 pounds, probably a little bit more than that when I was seeing the pictures. I'm interested to see the weight he comes in at. Main question is, can he pass protect in space? And that is one of these stress points that they have in those one-on-ones. I'm interested to see what those feet look like, because I know my brother watching his film was like, crosses his feet. He's got sloppy feet. And again, you can make up for that with how big you are and just eat people up. Daniel Falele, kind of similar concerns, but I think DeJuan Jones is a little bit more athletic and explosive than Falele. I mean,
I think he showed improvement from 2022 to 23 or 21 to 22. You watch him kind of off the side when you're watching Nicholas Petit for a year. Last year, you saw him get beat. He looked slow. I think this year in the offseason, he slimmed down a little bit and he improved his feet a little bit, but where he wins is just his physicality. And it's really impressive to watch him work.
I'm very excited to watch him. Let's get to these quarterbacks. Now, you got Jaron Hall, Jake Haener, Malik Cunningham. Out of those 3 guys, who are you most excited about?
I mean, this class of quarterbacks isn't the most exciting, but if I'm looking at the guy that there's 2 guys on that list I really could make with Jaron Hall and Jake Haener. We talked about Brock Purdy. I think Jake Haener shows a lot of those qualities. Jaron Hall, a little bit more mobile quarterback that kind of lit it up at Brigham Young like most quarterbacks do there. So, yeah, I mean, nothing crazy, but guys who will show out and show their athleticism.
Jake Haener's like this there. He'll be a backup quarterback for a minute in the NFL. Like, tough, gritty dude who's got good pre-snap recognition, goes to the right places. Just, I mean, I don't even know if he'll be over 6 foot, doesn't have a rocket arm. Jaron Hall, a little bit more upside than Malik Cunningham. He's a freak athlete in a lot of like the Lamar Jackson comps. But he's just not the athlete Lamar Jackson is in terms of running with the football. Interested to see what he improved as a pocket passer. But again, I think he still has a lot of work to do. Yep. Taking a look at this running back class, I know you love Chase Brown. I'm going to lean Roschon Johnson because, for one, I think Roschon Johnson's an absolute freak. And it was just unfortunate that he was sitting behind the freakiest of freaks in running backs of Bijan Robinson. But he's going to be a guy that's going to get – I think he's very good out of the backfield. He's a former quarterback as well. So he's got a lot of good skill traits you like. You just didn't get to see him as much because you're obviously sitting behind Bijan Robinson, who's the best in the country.
But I think you saw enough to warrant maybe early day 3, late day 2, maybe kind of pick on him, because he doesn't have the wear and tear that a Bijan Robinson has, but he showed flashes with Texas. And I mean, it's a stacked running back class, and he's right up there.
This running back class, I like Bijan Robinson's like as good of a running back as we've evaluated since like Saquon Barkley. But the depth of this running back class is phenomenal. And like, I mean, we didn't even talk about Chase Brown, who's another. I'm not the biggest Chase Brown guy just because I don't see anything elite about him. Damn good running back though. Getting to the tight ends, honestly, or yeah, we'll go to the tight ends. This crop of tight ends on this side, I have some tight ends I want to look at on the American team, but Josh Wiley, Cincinnati, Davis Allen from Clemson, and Payne Durham from Purdue, kind of stereotypical day 3 tight ends.
Yeah, no, Durham's kind of an inline kind of tight end. I think Josh Wiley kind of gives you some more speed and flexibility at the position, but yeah, some opportunity for these guys to make a name for themselves at the Senior Bowl.
All right, last position on the national team, the wide receivers, probably one of the more exciting groups to watch, and this is where you see a lot of guys make some money. Like Christian Watson last year just lit it up at the Senior Bowl. What wide receivers you think you're interested in, and what wide receivers you think kind of have that performance this year?
I think Jaden Reed could actually show out in the Senior Bowl because of his speed, especially in the one-on-ones. Again, you don't want to put too much stock in the one-on-ones, but Jaden's going to be able to burn some guys, especially some of the taller corners like Caillou Blue Kelly. You want to watch that matchup. But yes, some guys with speed, and then Ronnie Bell. I think that he could actually have an opportunity at the next level. Michigan guy, you love him. But yeah, I just wanted to see some more from Ronnie Bell after the season before. And he didn't really show too much this year, and I think it's a great opportunity again.
Yeah, and obviously coming off the injury, like I do think Ronnie Bell could carve out a spot at the league, and underrated like athletic traits. Like was a freak basketball player coming out of high school. I'll probably go Grant Dubois just out of Charlotte. Didn't really see a ton of him because he's on a really bad Charlotte team this year, but back-to-back seasons of over 700 yards, 6'3", 200 pounds. Like you like the movement skills, you like the size. Interested to see what he can do kind of against these elite cornerbacks. But maybe I would throw Trey Palmer in there too because I think he'll have a good day showing his vertical threat as well. Switching over to the American. First, looking at these defensive backs, I'll go with the guy that's jumping out at me right away and a guy that's one of my favorite players in the class and somebody who I think could be a first-round pick, Christopher Smith from Georgia. You won't find a safety that understands the sport more than Christopher Smith. I mean, he's a captain this year for Georgia, started last year as well, has seen a lot of football, always in the right space. Now, what your concern is does he have the athletic juice to be a good safety at the next level in terms of range, in terms of speed, in terms of how quick he is? Can he match up in man coverage with the guys? You'll get a sense of what he can do at the Senior Bowl. I will have my eyes on Christopher Smith in a big-time way.
Yeah, he kind of took over that leadership role once Nakobe Dean left last year. And, I mean, he sticks his head into anything. I mean, he comes downhill fast. I worry about his size a little bit. Like, do you want him at the free safety? Is he, like, fast enough to cover some of the deep speed kind of wide receivers? Yep. But he definitely hits like a strong safety, so you have no worries there. So, I mean, he's someone who's going to at least come in. He'll play special teams right away, but he'll get some reps as well on defense. I think he can make a difference for a team year one.
I love Christopher Smith. Any other guys you got at this defensive back unit?
Rajon Wright, I mean, his brother plays for the Cowboys. I haven't watched him yet, but I've heard good things about him. And then Darrell Luter, he's actually going to be right at home at Mobile. So that's going to be an interesting watch. But no one in particular.
I'll throw out Julius Brent, 6'4", big-time frame, and Tyreek Stevenson in the same, like, big physical cornerbacks. That's kind of my brand of cornerbacks that I like and kind of the guys I value a little bit in terms of, like, the ceiling to have at the next level. Julius Brent's, man, 6'4", very, very long arms. I'll have my eyes on him. Getting to this defensive line, who's standing out to you at the defensive line position? I have a feeling I know who one might be.
Yeah, it's Zach Pickens. I think this is going to be his opportunity to kind of show why he was a five-star recruit. Yes. 6'3", 6'4", 306 pounds. I think he can play 3 tech and 1 tech. Rushes the passer super well. He just kind of needs to improve his take on double teams. I think he does a good job 1v1 in the run game, but he'll have the opportunity to show it here, and it's really exciting.
I love this crop for a couple of reasons. I do like Zach Pickens. I'm not the biggest Zach Pickens fan just because the consistency on film was not there for me. Mm-hmm. I know my brother loves Isaiah McGuire from Missouri. Interested to see what he can bring. Ali Gay is a guy that has round one traits that just played horrible in 2022. So he'll have a chance to kind of make up for it. And then my personal favorite, and again, he's not high on boards because athletically there's nothing that jumps out of the film at you. But Dylan Horton, man, talk about motor. 6'4", 275 pounds, was dogging Michigan's offensive line all game in the college football playoffs. Again, nothing extremely special, but this dude just is good at football. 36 pressures, 12 sacks. I mean, he has a motor, and he plays the run hard. I'm excited to see what he can do, too. Linebackers, ROC, who's standing out?
It's funny that they have Will McDonald as a linebacker because that's definitely not where I see him.
He's not.
Yeah. Looking at this, I mean, I love Dorian Williams. I think him and his counterpart, I forgot the other linebacker's name, but I don't think he's going to the draft this year. But Dorian Williams plays with so much effort. You just love it when he blitzes off the edge. I mean, he can get hit by like 3 different linemen and make a play. So again, someone with sideline to sideline speed. Same thing with Servacio Dennis from Pittsburgh. And then again, Will McDonald, but again, he's a defensive lineman. He's not a linebacker.
Okay, ROC, question mark for you. Yeah. So Colby Wooden, you were watching his film earlier today, correct?
Who was that?
Colby Wooden from Auburn.
Yeah.
You were watching his film. Yeah. Did number 55 for Auburn stand out for you at all? Iko Leota. When my brother and I were watching film over Christmas break of Derek Hall, we could not help but like number 55, Iko Leota. We had to go look him up. He's a dog, a very good pass rusher. I kind of want to backtrack and talk about him because he's a big-time player.
No, I agree. And he jumped off the screen to me because I was always looking at 25, and it looked like 25, and it's 55, so it was a little bit confusing. But, yeah, I saw him on the screen. I didn't really get to sit down and look at him specifically. But, again, you're right. It's him, Derek Hall, and then Wooden making plays. So it's hard to miss him.
And when we were watching for Derek Hall, and we were like, who is this 55 cat who's absolutely being a dog? At the linebacker position, D. Winters, he's a guy that was just so good. I hate to just go off with the TCU guys, but it was a team I liked a lot to watch, and he was really, really good for TCU. All right, getting into this offensive line group, who you got your eyeballs on?
So many guys, man. This is insane. This might be the best Senior Bowl roster they ever had. I mean, this is first-round talent, second-round talent everywhere. Going up to Emil Ekiyor, I think this is going to be a really important week for him because you worry about his lower body strength and his drive in the run game. He'll be able to show it. Osiris Torrance, I think he's pretty much a lock for the first round. So if he doesn't play too much, I wouldn't be mad, and it kind of would make sense. Just get the interviews.
I'm surprised to see him even participating.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then Matthew Bergeron, so Syracuse kid, the technique is astounding. I think that he could improve again in the run game, but he's going to have the opportunity to go against these elite SEC edge defenders and really show out. I think right now he's kind of on the cusp of a round 1 pick, but I think at the end of the week he could cement himself in the first round.
I knew he'd jump out at you. I'll probably go Darnell Wright, former 5, so you guys know I'm big into the recruiting. He was a guy that a lot of people liked out of high school, has a lot of those physical athletic traits that you like in first-round tackles. Yeah. Probably his best year of film in 2022, so excited to see what he can do. Plays kicker.
He forced Wanya Morris out, and that's incredible because Wanya Morris himself is a fantastic right tackle. So that just tells you everything you need to know.
All right, I like this quarterback, like this group of quarterbacks, a lot more than the others. You obviously have Hendon Hooker, who won't be participating due to the injury. Max Duggan and Clayton Tune. So Max Duggan's a guy that's capitalizing off just a phenomenal college football season for TCU. Struggle to see him like really being a great NFL starter. But one of the guys that I like outside of like the Bryce Young, Will Levis, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson group is Clayton Tune. Like, I don't know if he's a starting quarterback. I mean, he's definitely not a starting quarterback immediately. Very productive quarterback, can use his legs, has a very strong arm. Excited to see what he can do here.
Yeah, and like you said, Max Duggan has the opportunity to keep the momentum going from the college football season. And it's kind of like a weird group at the end of this quarterback class. So anybody who stands out here is going to have a name or a spot in some team's big board. So it's going to be so important.
That's a good point because, again, we talked about this when we talked about our quarterback ranking. So if you want to go check that out, go check that out. A lot of those like quarterbacks, that would be like day 2 picks decided to stay at school, like Spencer Rattler, Michael Penix, Bo Nix, NIL obviously playing a role. So the quarterback position outside of the top guys who were going to be like top 15, top 20, top 10 picks decided to go back and try to help their draft stock a little bit more. So the quarterback depth ain't what it normally is in the NFL draft here.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to improve college football. I like the NIL because of that. But, I mean, we're going to kind of get left at the back end of all these players.
Agreed. running backs, a guy that jumps out at me, Kenny McIntosh, just in the sense that you won't see a better pass catcher in this class than Kenny McIntosh. And you obviously know they'll be doing a lot of those drills, seeing if linebackers can cover a guy like him. He has a chance to really make him, to really like show why a team should be taking a stab at him maybe day 2.
Yeah, I like Eric Gray. He's really high on my board. I think I have him at RB5 ahead of like a Chase Brown and then Dwayne McBride, Sean Tucker. Guy at Oklahoma that kind of just popped off. His stats are incredible. You do worry about some of the vision, but he's got the power, the contact balance, and the speed to really make a difference in the next level.
Eric Gray, he's awfully close to being a top 3 running back for me. I love his game, and the thing I value so much is when he gets to the second level, like linebacker, he's not even taking contact. He's making dudes miss clean in space. Yeah. Like the most shifty running. A lot of people like talk about like Jahmyr Gibbs and his shiftiness. Like Eric Gray's right up there with his ability to make people miss smoothly at the second level. I'm a massive fan of Eric Gray. He's another guy that's really, really good out of the backfield. Okay, this tight end class, obviously 2 guys I love. Braden Willis was a guy that at Oklahoma, he was doing everything for him, not necessarily your stereotypical inline blocker, phenomenal athlete. And then Lucas Musgrave, who's a guy that a lot of people, including Daniel Jeremiah, has in his top 50. He's got, I mean, maybe the most to gain of this week because he missed all of his senior season with the knee injury.
Yeah, no, that was tough. I really wanted to see him play, but I mean, from the limited time we were able to see him, he showed what he's good at, right? Yes. I mean, he fires off the line of scrimmage. He can kind of rip down the seams and give linebackers a tough cover. I don't think he's the hardest person to tackle. He's not overly physical, kind of lands awkwardly, which is I noticed. But someone who's going to be used as a receiving threat at the next level.
Yeah, he ain't going to be inline blocking too much, or shouldn't be at the next level. But you said it, Matt. He's a monster over the middle of the field with that frame and his ability to just go up and make catches. Yeah, not the smoothest athlete. I'm kind of with you on that. But man, is he just an absolute monster in terms of work in the middle of the field. Finally, the wide receiver position to round us out. Which wide receivers you taking a look at here? I have a feeling I also know what this one will be.
Yeah, it's Rashee Rice. It's just too easy. He loves the physical side of the game. You watch him block, and he's just tearing people down. It's impressive to watch. I think 1v1s is going to be where he really thrives. He's going to make any jump ball catch there ever will be. I mean, he's got mitts, and he can really get up and get it. So he's going to be exciting to watch. Then Xavier Hutchinson, again, with the 1v1s. I mean, he didn't get great separation in college, but the catch radius was impressive, enough to kind of warrant maybe a 5th-round pick for me, 4th-round pick. So he'll be exciting to watch as well.
Yeah, Rashee Rice, and I'm interested to see if Rashee Rice can separate. That's one of I just don't know. They say he's like a 4.4 guy. I don't see that on the film. No. I just don't think he's like an athletic, explosive freak. I think he's a damn good wide receiver, kind of like David Bell-ish, like bigger body guy who's going to go up and make plays, but not necessarily top-end athletic traits. So I'm excited to see what you see from that. Obviously, one of my personal favorites, Nathaniel Tank Dell. Very, very small dude, but he's going to dominate in the league. In terms of creating separation, there's not many guys that's going to be able to keep up with him. I'm interested to see if some of those longer physical cornerbacks can kind of jam him up at the line of scrimmage, because that's probably where you're most nervous for. Because again, at Houston, didn't really see much press coverage. So let's see if he can be physical and kind of work his way off the line of scrimmage. And then another guy that I haven't watched any film on, but I have done some reading on, Andre Iosivas from Princeton, track athlete, reportedly sub 4.3 track speed. So again, coming up from the FCS level in the Ivy League at Princeton. Let's see what kind of football player he is, because again, you've noticed being fast isn't enough. It's nice to have burners, but you got to be able to be a good football player too. Let's see if he can have that kind of performance at the Senior Bowl to kind of help his draft stock out a lot, because again, just your selling point being speed, not necessarily enough here.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, lastly, do you watch Jonathan Mingo at all? Did you get a chance to watch him?
I like him a lot.
I think his quarterback play throughout the years was so inconsistent that I'd never really got to get a good look at him. I mean, his best play was with Corral, and even he was inconsistent. So hopefully getting some good quarterback play in the Senior Bowl, show out a little bit.
6'2", 225, he runs well. I really do like his game from physical standpoint, and I'm kind of with you. Let's see with a little bit more consistency. Let's see what we got with him. He's another one of those guys that I really do like in the day 3 range. That'll do it for the Senior Bowl. Again, we'll be hopping back on after the days of practice, talking about what we've seen from the guys. We'll be talking about the famous measurements, the height, the weight, the length. Again, we love that too. Appreciate you guys for checking us out as usual. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.